So for this part, we're going to have a better look at overlap and follow through animation. So I prepared this scene. Small fox jumping around. It's also a rig provided by my good friend and colleague Odin Valvekens, and it allows you to change the skin if you would rather have a mouse, a platypus, beaver, cat. Doesn't matter as long as you're having fun. I will take the fox for now. And I made this camera, the render cam. You can find it in panels, orthographic render cam. And that's where you can see our fox jumping around. So as you can see, there's already squash and stretch going on. The only thing that we need to fix is the tail. So let's get into that part of the animation. So what we would want to create is the tail following the action of our fox. If you would put a motion trail on our fox, you can see clearly the bounces. We want actually to visualize the tail. So let's take the controller closest to our body and visualize this one. Okay, as you can see, it's a little offset compared to the body, but that's because the body's transformation is out of the center of the body and the tail is just outside of the body. That's why we have a little offset. So we can delete the body motion trail and focus on the tail. So to give yourself already a little bit of leeway into animating this tail, we can actually do some kind of planning. An easy way in this case is to just do some drawovers. So I have my tablet right here with me, and I can draw on what I want to happen. Even hide the controller for now, and we will use the blue pencil. So it's right here if you press it. And this allows you to draw in your scene. If you want to change the settings, you can do it using the tool settings button right here. You can adjust the color. Press here, for example, red. Or if you want orange, just a bit like a tail, you can pick orange, and you can change the size to whatever you like. You'll have a lot of other tools as well that you can use to start blocking out stuff. But for now, let's just use the paintbrush or the pencil, depending on what you want. So let me Control Z right here, and let's close this for now and start working in our scene. So in this drawer, we should actually just follow along, or we can follow along. Actually, the orange is not really super clear, so let's change the color to red. This will already work better. Okay, let me adjust some settings here. So this is our tail. Let's start here. And so we can, in this case, almost just draw over our motion trail. And we want it to have a nice curve. Right here, as you can see, the curve gets closer to each other. If you want to see the curve what you have drawn before, you can just press this button. You can see the older frames. It's showing the 3 past frames, but you can adjust this number however you like. We're going take a curve as well. So the beginning is pretty as much as the same as the motion trail, but it gets interesting the more we go down actually. So now our line is straightening up right here. So this is the point where we're going from this to this kind of curve, right? So we will see more and more linear movement the closer we are getting to the ground right here. Here you'll already see the tip doing a little follow through on the movement. And if you try over, something like this, and it will go up again, like so. And that's about it actually. I can do this for the entire thing, but could be parts of this are gonna be sped up. So here we'll see our fox is diving straight down. We can have a little bit of follow through on the tail around here. Actually, we can straighten this out a bit. And go over it. So flip a little bit to the right, and last pose, straighten it out completely. So let's hide our pencil, hide the motion trail, go out of the drawing mode, of the blue pencil mode, and let's play our animation. Oh, sorry. Obviously, we don't need to hide our blue pencil since we want to see what's happening. But we can hide our rig. Yeah, that's nice, right? So we can unhide our rig. And now it's all about matching our 3D tail with our 2D drawing. So how I would recommend doing this is just going from the base to the point of the tail. So let's use the tail so we can select everything, and let's make something that's called a selection set. Let me hide the pencil. So select all of them. Maybe give them a key already in the beginning, so you know everything is keyed at least once, so we have our auto keyframe that works for all our controllers. Now with everything selected, we can go to create sets, quick selection set, and we can give this the name tail. So what does this do? Instead of always going to selecting everything, we can just right click and select set members, and now all the controllers of the tail are selected at once, and we can start rotating stuff around. It is nice to have the first iteration or just the first key you want to pose to be able to set this pretty easily. But obviously you will have to tweak each controller manually by itself. Let's enable our blue pencil. So we can adjust the opacity of the blue pencil. So if you click here on the outliner, then in the opacity you can put 0.2 maybe or 0.1. So we can see it, but we can see through it, right? So let's start. Here we want everything to be rotated a little bit. So let's use the right click, select set members and rotate. You can also just enable the motion trail, definitely in this part, and start matching everything. Here everything will be straight, so we can zero out everything and then tweak it a little bit. Okay, if you want to see through the pipes, you can just press this and you can start matching here. So most of this will be self-explanatory. This will be partly sped up, but you can still follow along and try it yourself. You will see that it's pretty clear what's going on, and don't forget to have some fun with the tail, obviously. The most important part is here at the bottom, so once we get there I will definitely talk a bit more about it. Here we have a really big change. because we are moving in another direction. So the first thing that will be separate is this controller close to the body, and then we'll just curve it around our drawing. Here we have the starting of the overlap, right? So going a little off the motion trail, a bit more like so, and then turn this a bit back. It's just about tweaking. You will see that we are now really placing everything, but once we start playing stuff, it could be that we still have to make some adjustments, but that's for later. Let's now focus on getting this shapes in there as clearly as possible. Okay, and now there's a big change right here, so you can just right click on the set that you created and zero everything out. It's probably an easier start-off point than trying to manually go back to the start point and then change. So this is probably a lot easier. As you can see, I skipped one frame because I think sometimes Maya is really helpful in interpolating stuff, so it's easier to skip maybe one frame and just this one. And then if you would go back, as you can see, it's already in a much better place than before, so we can better fix this one and then use the automatic interpolation of Maya to tweak the in-between frame. So as you can see, it's already pretty nice. Don't forget to save every now and then, obviously. In case I never mentioned, you can make the transform tool bigger and smaller by pressing plus or minus on your keyboard. That might be very useful. So normally we use the bigger transform tool when we want to add more detail, because when you're going smaller, a small movement can quickly make a big difference instead of when you're making it very, very big. You have a lot more wiggle room to make changes. We can even copy and paste some poses that we're going to reuse, since it's almost, once you did one cycle of this follow through and overlap, you can copy some poses, at least to get some kind of basic starting point, like here. So then you can work a little bit quicker, which is always quite nice. The animation is quite time intensive work. So here we start to go our follow through. So I'll try it out and see how it feels. I think this will be probably a little bit far, but let's see how it goes. And then we just end up straight, so we can completely put this straight. Then go again with the X-ray. Put this in a straight position. And then work from end towards the beginning. That's also something you can do every now and then. It's completely up to you how you want to work. So let's have a look how it turned out. So let's hide everything that we don't need and play our animation. I think this is looking quite nice. So we can really feel the slap here. It's a big movement, but it really adds to our animation. Some parts are a little bit stiff currently, but it's just about tweaking those things. And you can actually check if things are stiff or not in the rotation. So here, for example, we give the, let's always work from the close to the body to the farthest of the body. And here we can clearly see our curve, our rotation curve. And if you select it, then right click and then isolate curve. We can isolate this curve and have a look here. As you can see, this part does not really make sense because it goes up, then down and up again. So we can either change this or just delete this, and then Maya will smooth this out for us automatically. Okay, but sometimes you should delete stuff. But here you can see we will probably need it in this case. So if you would delete this, the change is really harsh, but maybe we can slightly adjust it a little bit. Maybe it's a bit harsh, but that's not really a problem. We can use a buffer curve in this case. Just select the curve that you want to save some kind of memory of, and then press this button, create a snapshot. Normally it's done now, and if you start moving stuff around, we can see a clear black line of where the previous position was. So we can delete these keys, and now you can see there's a big change right here. So we can start moving stuff around with these handles. We can make weight attention, so we have a bit more control of everything. Okay, so this should be the average if I look at it. So it's bottom right here, but stop right here. So I think this is a pretty nice average line. But if you, for some reason, want to go back, you can always press this button and it will snap right back, and it will make your no curve your buffer curve. So it will just swap those around. But it seems you can't just delete everything without making having some weird movements, so I have to retweak a little bit, but that's just what's animation about. Obviously, keep on tweaking it until you like what you created. Okay, so, and instead of trying to completely refix this is actually pretty nice, except for some detail, but those things we can actually fix in maybe another controller. Like here, there's something weird going on as well. It's up, down, up. So as you can see, we just deleted it and it's already getting more in place. So it's about cleaning up your animation. I wouldn't call it your mess, but it's important that you clean up your curves a little bit, so it's more workable for your colleagues in the industry if they have to take over your shot or help you with something. The less keys you have, the easier it is for a fellow colleague to help you. Okay. Again, that's something you can do for every controller that you have. Start cleaning things, getting some nicer curves like I did with this one. Go through all of them, and the more you clean up, the better things have. But in general, you should have something that looks like this animation. So that's nice. I hope you have fun with the scene that I'm giving to you, and just focus on overlap, following through action with the tail, so you can learn a lot about these curves and why things are moving like this. It's trying to follow the body. So there's one other possibility to create overlap and follow through. You've got this scene to practice, and now I'm going to show you something else as well. Okay, now I will show you another way to get some overlap. So let's say we have McKilly right here, and she's trying to wave to someone over there. And obviously we're not going to draw out every controller separately in 2D, so we will do it in this other way that I'm going to show you. So I already made a set called waving, so this includes all the controllers that I will use to get some waving motion. Alright, let's set our first key in the beginning, and then 10 frames later we can move, rotate everything to the right. Maybe it's a bit much, a little bit. And then we can copy this frame. Let's go a little bit more to the left again. Then we can make copy to 20, and now we have this movement. Obviously, we need a bit more movement in the arms, so let's select everything here in the arms, and let's exaggerate this a little bit more. Okay, so now we have a small wave going on, and let's copy this a bit more. Control C, Control V, Control V. Okay, So now we have this motion. Obviously this is not so nice yet. Maybe it's a bit too quick, or at least definitely in the arms. So we can slow down everything a little bit. So let's go to 100 right here. And I will show you a tool I've not used yet. So with everything selected, we can use a retime tool, which is here. And this gives you 2 handles, or maybe 3, how much that you want, by double clicking. And this is something you can use to scale in time, well, retime. But you can also use more, and then you can adjust the things between those handles, and the other stuff is untouched. So, but for now we can use one big one and slide a bit more like this, so it's going to be a bit slower. Okay, it's a bit too slow. Okay, so now we have like this weird dotted keys on your timeline. These are in between keys. They are not really on a key, they're like between 59 and between 60, for example, this one. So we can easily fix this by selecting everything, edit, snap, and this will snap to the closest key. And now we have this animation. It's not great yet, but it's good to start with this to learn overlap in another way. So what we will do is something that's called hierarchy overlap. This base is going to be deciding what's happening, and then everything else will follow up after. It's pretty easy. Just select everything, then deselect the base of the movement, take everything except the first key, drag one to the right, and you just repeat this. And then, for example, we can take the shoulder and the head at the same time. Okay, and if you would select everything again now, you can see there are a lot more keys here. That's because everything is offsetted. And so if I would play now, as you can see, the body is moving at a different rhythm than the head. And this already feels a lot better. It's definitely not the best animation, but it's a good practice to learn some hierarchy overlap. And obviously it doesn't have to stop there. You can always go back in and start to enhance, exaggerate some movement. So here we have the hand going to this direction, right? But we can make it a bit of a heavier overlap by going a few frames back and then tilting it back. And that's something you can copy. Middle mouse S, so we have it here, but we want it everywhere. So you can just middle mouse S, it's everywhere, right? So it's here and here. And now you can see it's a bit heavier of an overlap. And that's something you can do for all the controllers, and you can do it in every direction. So you can, when it's starting to go back to the right, you can make it go a bit extremer. And you can see it's getting more and more overlap, or at least a feeling, because the keys are, we haven't touched the keys in this case, we just adjusted the value each time. And that's actually how you get some hierarchy overlap. And depending on how much frames are between these controllers, the more smooth it will be. So, and also the heavier things will feel. So if I would go back in and do the same thing again, so we already have like a separate overlap, but if I would do this again, so deselect the base and then move and then do the same thing, I would play now. As you can see, there's already a lot more overlap, but it starts to look weird. So it's a nice trick to do when you have a lot of controllers. For example, when you are animating an octopus with tentacles, they have a lot of controllers. It's a nice way to do it, and you can play with the amount of frames between the keys. But as you can see, for a human, it already looks good when you only use one in-between frame. So I would not overuse this trick. And the more overlap you are giving something, the slower it feels. So you have to actually go back and then scale everything back together a little bit. And then it already looks better. So keep those things definitely in mind. So there are two ways to, or at least two ways, because there are a lot of other ways as well, but these are the two most prominent ways to create overlap and follow through in your animation. That was the overlap and follow through part of this series.